Normally I would open the meeting and then talk to you guys. Unfortunately, I have an email here dated February 25th, and this email, which I'll pass around, shows that my office sent the city clerk the agenda for this meeting. The law is the agenda has to be posted 24 hours before the meeting. She did not get the email. Now, I've been dealing with the city clerk for several years on the high school building committee. This has never happened. And in fact, there was some upgrading going on the 25th in City Hall, and several people lost their emails. So as a result, this meeting is an informal session. I'm not going to open the meeting. We're not going to take minutes. It is not an official meeting because the agenda was not posted until this morning as a result of her not getting the email. All right? So with that, we're going to drop the formalities we normally have at a meeting. I'm not going to do a roll call. I'm not going to call to order. We're not going to do the adoption of the agenda. We're not going to go over the minutes. We're not going to take minutes, but I do want to take this opportunity to introduce you to James Sonnet. I've known Jim Sonnet for the better part of 30 years, I think, and he has a very interesting story to tell on what he does on a community level for disadvantaged people. So Jim, with that, take it over. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. I've been with Fish of Greater New Haven for 6 years as a volunteer. When I retired from my business, needed to find something to do and found what I felt was a perfect fit for an old hippie from New York from the 60s, and that is to help people who are unable to help themselves and who are food insecure. So when I hooked up with this organization, it was a lot smaller than it is now, and I'm happy to say we've been able to grow it quite a bit, but we're always held back by the amount of financial resources we have, of course, and the availability of volunteers. We are a volunteer-driven organization. When I started with Fish, there were literally 2 paid employees. I don't know, we don't have many more now. How many paid employees do we have?
6 now.
6. So we've really exploded. We have 6 people who actually get paid to do what we do. I'm not one of them. So I can tell you that I speak from the heart with what I say, and I can tell you about this organization which saves people's lives and gives people hope. We feed a lot of people in West Haven. I've lived here for over 40 years. I will tell you that we also serve New Haven, Hamden, and East Haven. We added East Haven this past year. As we've grown, the need is everywhere. COVID only made it worse. The amount of people who literally cannot get out of their home to get to a food pantry to get free food. That's the people that ideally we serve. There are other offshoots which I'll talk about, but primarily if you have a grandmother in a wheelchair somewhere and she lives by herself because she refuses to have anybody come live with her, or she's not going to go into a home or whatever, we bring her food. And we bring her food at no cost. And we come every month and we bring 2 weeks worth of groceries. The reason we do that amount is most of our clients are on food stamps. The number one complaint of most people on food stamps, other than maybe with their ability to get the food, is they don't go very far. I mean, if they're the head of the household and they're infirm in some fashion, and they have a family living there as well with young children, those food stamps don't go very far. I don't care how much they get. And as we all know, the tendency for a lot of people is to go buy potato chips and other things that are easy and everybody eats them, and that's great. We we deliver whole groceries, nutritious foods, frozen meat, fish, chicken, dairy, bread, all the shelf-stable type items, fresh produce. So peanut butter and jelly and pasta and sauces, rice, any shelf-stable thing you can think of, we deliver it. Canned soup, fruits and vegetables. We do all of that. We bring enough so that they can usually get through the month and then help sustain their food stamps and their families. We currently serve over 1,000 households every month, over 2,500 individual mouths that we feed every month. In West Haven alone, we have 195 families we currently serve. We also deal a lot with veterans. I started, I guess, about 4 years ago with the VASH program in West Haven, where I talk to the dietary people there, and if they have a client that they know in particular is not getting proper food, or is not buying proper food for themselves because they're not taking care of themselves. The VASH program tries to get them set up with a job, with an apartment, get them functioning again in life, but we take the pressure off of food. And the good news for a lot of the veterans, the good news for a lot of our younger clients that we sustain is a lot of times their life situation changes and it gets better. And the best phone call I get is the person who handles the intakes and talks to most of the clients is that they call up and go, I don't need you anymore. Thanks, this has been amazing, but I can take care of myself. That's the best phone call I ever get. The worst phone call I ever get is that person has passed away. And we get, a lot of our clients we have for the rest of their lives because their situation isn't going to get better, and we just keep taking care of them. We check in with them on a monthly basis. I talk to a lot of our clients all the time, but we recertify them every year to see what their family situation is. Has someone moved in? Has someone moved out? If there are able-bodied adults in the household, we refer them to food pantries. We do not take them on as clients because we figure that person can get to a food pantry to help them, and we want to put our resources to helping those that cannot get out to help themselves. Okay, so that's sort of it in a nutshell. But last year, we delivered over 18,300 individual deliveries. We delivered 475,750 pounds of food last year. And this is all funded by our donations from individuals, from some businesses that have kind of adopted us as their favorite charity, and grants that we write. We don't get any money from, we're not on any federal program or anything like that where we get a check every month to help us pay the bills. We do this through donation. And it's kind of a strong aspect of us because we don't owe anything to anybody in terms of what we do. We really want to serve the greatest amount of people that we can that need us. We have a definite pay-it-forward policy. If there's a kind of food that our clients are on a restricted diet and they can't eat, we recommend they give it to a neighbor. We don't want to take it back and have to reset it up. People need us. And most of our referrals come in either through other agencies in New Haven or via word of mouth. So friend says, hey, I'm getting help with this food. The next person goes, yeah, I'm hungry all the time. Well, call them. And that's how we get a lot of our referrals. But we do work with Yale New Haven Hospital through Yale New Haven Health, through Yale Project Access. Virtually every health organization, Yale Mental Health, virtually every health organization in the town, virtually every social worker in New Haven County knows who we are. We also work with Unite Us, which I'm not sure if you guys work with Unite Us, but you should. They put together individuals like ourselves and every other agency that's out there so that when someone reports to an agency like us and says, I need help with my unemployment, we don't do that. But I can refer them to Unite Us, who will then refer them to the proper agency that can help them. So it's sort of like having an electronic online social worker. So it's a really good program. So we deal with them quite a bit. What am I forgetting besides everything? Okay.
You covered everything.
Okay. Other than that, Ken's a good guy. We've been friends for a long time. So if you don't like Ken, I don't like him either. But if you do like Ken, he will tell you quickly that, I don't need to do any of this. I have been doing it because we really serve the greater good. And in this day and age, especially with what's happened with COVID, we doubled in size through COVID. And we were struggling even at the size we were, but we've been able to get great donations. We have some very good friends, businesses in West Haven, Hamden, East Haven, Orange, all over the place, who are donating to us to help us, fight the good fight. So,
What questions we have?
Are you taking food donations in addition to financial?
we do,
Yeah.
we do. And we have some groups that donate quite a bit to us on a regular basis. There's a number of churches that we have a long-standing relationship with. Fish has been around for 50 years overall, but it started out as sort of a, call up, I need a bag of food, and some church would sort of help them out. And it really was a very small group, and that's why I think it took on the name Fish. When I started, Fish didn't actually stand for anything, but it now stands for Food and Service to the Homebound, because that is directly what we do. Okay? But yeah, quite a bit.
Do you deliver food that's already cooked for those individuals who don't have access to cooking their
Unfortunately, no, that we don't do. Our food is regular groceries. We do have occasional referrals like that where the people don't cook, so we try to set them up with Meals on Wheels and a couple of other groups that are doing that. I do all that kind of coordination when I talk to them. But generally speaking, people realize that if they're calling for food and they're getting food stamps, usually they have some capacity. I did forget to mention, one of the other things we do for a temporary basis for delivery is people who've had serious operations and might be, short-term unable to get out, or they've just moved to the area and they're really in a bad situation and they're not set up. We will do anywhere from 3 to 6 months of deliveries, and then, hopefully they're on their feet and they're off and rolling. But that's a much smaller situation. Usually it's people who are a lot more in need, because nobody calls us unless they're hungry, because why would they? So.
Yeah. The one other thing I'd like to mention is the groceries that we do give out, we make sure that we're giving out foods that go together. So if we're giving somebody macaroni, they're getting tomato sauce. If we're giving them rice, we're giving them some beans and some chicken broth. If we're giving somebody peanut butter and jelly, we're giving them bread. If we're giving them cereal, we're giving them milk. So we want to coordinate it so this way they can definitely use the food that they're getting.
Right. And we also send out meal recommendations. We do follow-ups with things in their bags, and that's something else I should mention. One of the weird things about dealing with grants is that a lot of grants are worded in such a way that, it's food only, which sounds obvious. That's what we want to do, get as much money for food as we can. But we have to pack the food in something. We need bags. We need more shelving, we need refrigerators, we need freezers. We're constantly growing, and all that stuff is not usually detailed in grants. They say, this is money for food, which is great, and that's our primary need, of course. But that other support stuff is necessary also, because we run into this all the time. We just, we start having to hit up drives and donation people that, hey, guess what? We're running out of paper bags. A lot of times the stores will help us. I mean, we work with Stop and Shop, we work with ShopRite. If anybody's an Aldi shopper, don't shop there. They don't help us. I'm joking, of course. I'm not joking. The local organizations are tremendous, but we can't rely solely on them because there's just not enough. So.
Do you want to introduce Jill?
This is Jill Meyerhoff.
Hi, everybody.
She's the executive director, the third one I've served with over my 6 years, and the best. She has really driven us to a lot of things. Every year for Thanksgiving, we do a special thing for all our clients. They all can have a frozen turkey with all the fixins. We deliver them on top of their regular food delivery every year. Last year, we did a little over 400. Jill came in last year. This year, we delivered over 1,240. Every one of our clients got a frozen turkey and all the fixins.
Rohan, I think, has a question.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
How do you assess who's qualified for this?
That's a good question. We have a vulnerability index that was developed by a couple of hospital people, myself and the executive director of the time, who was Jillian Crowley, that we sat down and worked out the things that we needed to know about the client without prying too deeply. This is not a lie detector test, and we don't make them prove anything. This is all self-avowed. But we ask questions about why they can't get out of their home, who else is in the home, what issues they have socially, because some of our clients have mental issues that they have to deal with, and they're not comfortable about talking about them. We assess their mobility. Are they using a walker? I mean, I've got some clients, they're in wheelchairs, and they go, well, I get out all the time. And I go, so how do you get your food? Well, I go to the bus stop and I wait for the bus, and then and I go, then you go to the store. Well, I can't bring back very much. I have like a bag. I can bring a bag. So I said, well, how often can you go? Not that often. So these are the kind of people that if you just ask them, do you need us? They go, well, no, not really, but it would be nice to have some extra food. But they're so proud and they're so independent, they don't really want to ask. So we kind of have to sort of break them down, find out what's really going on in the household. And again, sometimes I talk to somebody and they're in need. They are definitely disabled, but they've got a 21-year-old living in the household who's not working and doesn't really want to do much of anything. And you go, well, they don't really help. Well, guess what? If they want to eat, they're going to help. get them over to the food pantry and get food at no cost. Because we can't just add everybody, because we just don't have the capacity. So,
I have a question.
Sure.
So the families that you do host, and they have special needs as far as dietary wise, do you have someone on the staff or volunteer who specializes in that, who can put together a bag of the dietary foods, for example, if they have diabetes or any other?
yeah, we don't. I mean, I shouldn't say that. We always try to put the healthiest combinations we can together. We are unable to do anything except a one-size-fits-all poll because of the number of people that we serve. If we started to do an individual request, you know, this person can't eat rice, or this person can, we would need a staff that's 3 times our size, and we would do nothing but be packing bags. We'd never have time to do anything else. So it's an unfortunate situation, and it's something we talk about all the time. And our second in command, Jackie Spieler, is very aware of food quality and what's healthy and what's not, and is constantly advising the people who buy for us to go for that. Like, we don't give out ramen. I mean, there's a lot of foods that when I started that we used to give out from time to time. We don't do that anymore. The quality of what we give, if you saw if the average person will get, for a single person, will get 3 bags of food. A starch bag, what we call a meat bag, and a can bag. And if you looked at the foods, there's nothing in them that you would go, oh my God, I would never eat that. You'd be amazed. And a lot of our clients will say to us, yeah, I used to be on fish, and then I started using the regular food pantry because I felt better. I want to go back on fish because it's not the same. And it is sort of the same. I mean, some of the canned goods are the same, but their quality of what's available is dramatically different. We spend a lot of money on making sure the food quality we give is excellent.
And what we do is if a community or church, anybody's gonna have a food rush, we have a list of healthy items, that we want. Because if you're gonna do the work, and do that for us, we wanna make sure that we're giving it out. Anything that we can't use, then we'll donate that to another pantry or somebody else that might want it.
Yeah, we get bread and produce from Trader Joe's and from BJ's. BJ's gives us food every day. And sometimes a lot of the food they give us, because we have to take everything they offer us or they won't give it to us, might be sweets, they're cakes and cookies and that sort of thing. We don't give those to our clients because that's just asking for trouble. So we don't. We donate it back to the people who pick up for us. We donate it to some other shelters. And we donate it actually to the New Reach premises that we're in because the staff loves it. So we just leave it there. Yes, sir.
How much waste do you have when the food is outdated? Do you get a lot of that?
Well, that's what's interesting about people's perception of out of date and whatever. Most of those standards that you see printed on your food at the grocery store has nothing to do with the quality of the food or how long it's good. It is about merchandising, turning the food over on a regular basis, getting people to, it helps the food stores make more money, quite frankly, and the manufacturers make more money. There are federal guidelines that you can look at online. It's very easy to Google, which will tell you that sell-by and use-by dates mean very little. There are some foods that they say, taste a little better if you eat them within a certain time period, like a canned good within 2 years of when you purchase it. But there's not really, those expiration dates are a little bit misleading. And most meat, for example, if it's frozen by the sell-by date, it's good for months and months and months. There's no real, sacrifice of quality or anything like that. We will not accept food, of course, that is long expired. We just would not do that. If somebody dropped off, I had this in my cabinet, it's expired 4 years ago. We will not put that on our shelves.
Thank you.
Can you do me a favor? Could you just move down a little bit? Move down this way.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because hearing is not.
No problem.
One question, and I think you're a great operation, is can you tell me, in the last 2 years, how COVID-19 has affected your operations?
Well, it's pretty radical. One of the reasons we doubled in size was because so many more people that were home and no longer able to get out, they might not normally qualify for fish. There was another organization that was trying to help just those people in particular, CFAN, that came to us after a couple of months and said, we can't do this. We can't logistically, we don't know how you guys do it, maybe you can help us. We ended up absorbing, because of Jill, absorbed their program. So we literally took our 650 clients and added their 650 clients and continued to do what we do for them. Now, what we found out was, and we thought, okay, so COVID will pass, it'll be a couple of months, and those people will now come off the program because they're not stuck home anymore. And what we found out was an awful lot of people that had COVID were fish clients without COVID. They didn't know about us, and we didn't know about them. So once we found out about them and we started talking to them, they go, okay, COVID, for them has passed. They're not quarantined anymore. But now it turns out they can't get out of their home anyway. So in interviewing them, we just made them regular clients. So it affected us radically.
Yeah,
Huge.
when we were located in West Haven, we were in 1,100 square feet. Because we doubled in size, we had to move to New Haven, and now we're in 2,700 square feet. And now we just leased another 1,300 square feet, because we're still growing a little bit, and we need food for the overflow, of food that we get in.
Yeah, we were on Island Lane in a little 1,100 square feet. We were so small that when I sat to do my work at my desk, I was surrounded by canned goods. I mean, completely surrounded, above me, below me, at the sides, and it was crazy, but you deal with what you have to deal with, so. But in our situation now, we're in a lot bigger space, but we keep filling it up. Jill also started a program where we're working with other smaller pantries that don't have the storage space or the ability to buy as well as we do, because they buy much smaller. They store with us and buy with us. So she's had some pretty amazing ideas which have really helped the community as a whole.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Good. Jim, thanks for coming out tonight. We appreciate you, and thank you, Jill.
Thank you.
Okay, again, Mike, you were a little bit late. This is not an official meeting because the email on the 25th to the city clerk was not received. It was some glitch, so they didn't post the agenda for this morning. So we'll be doing this agenda at next month's meeting, but I do want to, some announcements. I want to talk about the correspondence from City Council. There's an email from Stacy Riccio in your packet. And it is the last page. And it says, Councilwoman Kosky made a motion to allow the mayor and ARPA Committee to put out an RFP to hire a fund manager, an architect, engineer company, and hire a lawyer, and will be allowed to spend $300,000. So what they've done is they've released $300,000 for us to hire these positions. I would have liked to talk about that more tonight and do some voting, but we can't do that because it's not an official meeting. But I will bring up to speed on a couple things. Number one, as far as the attorney is concerned, the charter prohibits us from hiring an attorney. Only corporation counsel can hire the attorney, and they have done that, and they've given me a name that is not ready for public consumption yet, but they have an attorney in mind who's going to run all the ARPA for the city, and that will be our go-to attorney for this committee. So that position's been filled. As far as the fund manager, we're going to have to work closely with finance, and I imagine that we would probably be doing some interviews for a fund manager, making a recommendation to finance, and finance would actually make the hire, is what I suspect. And then as far as the architect and engineer, I'm going to ask you to go to page 6 for a moment. So this particular list is a list from the state that puts these services out to bid, similar to the way we wanted to when we started talking about, 2 months ago, or last month, I should say. So all of these companies, we can call up and use them without going to bid. They've already been vetted by the state. Go ahead.
Just real quick,
Yep.
do you foresee us interviewing engineers and architects to hire solely to work on our projects, or do you think a list like this would be okay?
Well, I think this list is going to be utilized by various departments in the city. In looking at this list, I do see some great engineering firms. I don't see a lot of architectural firms, but it got me thinking. And I've, with those thoughts, what I did is I revamped the actual RFQ. And I think what we need to do is put this RFQ out for an architect. I've removed the words engineer. And instead of hiring one architect, we retain 3 to 5 architects. And then as projects come before our committee, we will know which architectural firm best suits the project. I'll give you an example. Typically on a large project, I would ask for $5 million in insurance, okay? What if we have a small project? Okay, what if we have something real small? And the architect is overkill. Maybe we need an architect in this group of 5 that has $1 million insurance and it's a 2-man show and can go out and do that job for us very quickly. If we're gonna, do something larger, then we can go one of the larger companies. So I'd like to get 3 to 5 architects that we would interview, get them on a call list, if you will, and then rely on them hiring the engineer, or if we just need an engineer, we go to this list by the state. Now, we can't vote on that tonight, but that's the motion that I'll bring to you at next month's meeting. Any questions on that, anybody?
So this list is already has been vetted?
Yes, sir, by the state. Yep.
And you said that, we don't have to put this out to bid, right?
We don't have to, anybody that you use on this, anybody on this list has already been put out to bid.
But put out the bid,
Yeah.
okay, so can they compete against each other then?
Yes, of course they could.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm suggesting that we should create our own list of architects and rely on this list for engineers.
Okay.
Yeah, and the answer is yes. Anybody else have a question? Mike, do you have a question?
No, it just, with all the communities around us are gonna be going through the same exact process.
Yep.
That's why I'm glad to hear we have 3 to 5
Yeah.
architects in this list, because I think we may be competing with all our neighbors in the area and outside the neighbor for these types of services, and I know we're gonna wanna move on these projects really, really quickly.
Good. Anybody else have any other questions on anything in the packet tonight? All right. So I've got nothing else for you. I can't adjourn a meeting that we didn't open, so I'm gonna just say we're good to go.
You want another question?
Oh, you have a question?
I thought tonight the meeting was supposed to be for the council to present.
No, that was at the high school we had that meeting. Remember you were there?
I was at the high school last week,
Yeah.
but that was for the council.
Well, but see, this committee does not decide what jobs get done. The council and the mayor do. What we do is we run the project once we're told what the project is.
Oh, so I have to keep, actually, this will be my 5th time that I come to speak about my project,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm requesting.
Yep.
And so,
If you'd like to speak, you're welcome to speak.
yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
I do since I came over here.
Yep.
Might as well. You're Mr. Carmen.
Yes.
So the paper that I gave you.
I gave it to the council and the mayor. Yeah.
That was, we know that was outdated because of the brewery.
Correct.
So the brewery gets the preference. Okay.
Correct.
But I was never just for the senior, for the conference center.
Mhm.
No, I just want, so let me read what I wrote.
Sure, go ahead.
Because it took me the time. My name is Herminia Gaeta. Is it on?
Yes. It's recording, it's recording. We can hear you, but it's recording,
Okay.
yeah.
My name is Herminia Gaeta. I live at 58 West Walk. On February 3rd, I gave Mr. Kearney, the chairperson of the ARPA committee, a proposal requesting a senior to provide the ARPA fund for the Senior Citizens Center of West Haven. Because the one that is now, it's on the 3rd floor. So it's not easily accessible to the senior center, to the seniors, because some they go with a walker, some they go with a cane, some go with a wheelchair. Now, bring them to the 3rd floor. And in case of an emergency, the fire, I said, oh yeah, but the firemen, the rescue, they come, first responders, they come. Imagine that. You see senior citizens with a walker, a handy wheelchair, a cane, and the firemen, they have to help these people down the steps because there's no elevator, of course, you know that. It's no elevator when it's an emergency. So the steps, you get the slow-moving seniors, because even I'm slower holding on to the railing going down the side. I'm a senior. I'm 87 years old. I'm not a kid. I'm short, yes. So when the stairwell, because there are 3, 4, 5 flights, you know, they go this way, that way, that way. So it's going to be overcrowded with slow-moving people and the rescue people. And then is no parking, it's not on the bus line, and it's outdated. Okay, the program's there, but it's not fully staffed to begin with. Okay, let me go back. 4 years ago, I attended city council to, I started this job, this is volunteer. I'm not looking for a job, believe me. At 37, I worked all my life. I raised 5 kids. I took care of my mother, elderly, my in-laws, that they did not drive. So I did all that. Now it's rest. 4 years ago, I attended the city council for the purpose to make them aware that the senior center located on Noble Street was not easily accessible due to the 3rd floor location, lack of parking, and no on bus line. I also had several one-on-one meetings with the newly elected mayor, Nancy Rossi. I presented Mayor Rossi with our research indicating that the senior citizens represent at minimum 30% of the West Haven population, as well as a petition with more than 350 signatures to replace asking to replace the Noble Street location with a new modern senior citizen center. Mayor Rossi responded with the following remark: the city is broke. What's new? It's always broke. Therefore, there is no money available for this request. That was 4 years ago. Oh, well, I can turn the page. Today, the situation is totally different. Due to the ARP, there are $29 million available. So that makes this request reasonable and affordable. In addition to the ARPA fund, there are grants from the state and the federal government for the senior citizens that West Haven doesn't seem to know. I mean, all the other cities, they build the senior centers, beautiful. Look at Brantford, they opened 2 years ago. And Milford has a beautiful senior center. Orange has a beautiful senior center. So it's time that West Haven has a beautiful senior center. It is our understanding that our neighboring Milford, the city of Milford, already has given $200,000 ARPA money to do an outside space for outdoor activities. They have a beautiful senior center. I am a member. I waited 4 years to get to the senior center in New Haven, with Milford, because I live in West Haven, and you have to be on a waiting list. I think COVID made me a favor by who knows why. Some went to convalescent homes, some they died. They asked me after 4 years I made it to become a member. It is important that the ARPA committee make this request a priority on behalf of the senior citizens of West Haven. We do not know what the cost will be. My recommendation is to have a feasibility study to identify and propose the new location, the plan, and the cost to achieve this goal. According to the instruction on the Federal American Rescue Plan Act, it is imperative that the ARPA committee meet the deadlines in accordance with the rules and regulations cited by the ARPA. In light of recent problems experienced in the city of West Haven, the morale of its citizens is extremely low. By building a new, modern senior center, it would help to boost the morale of its citizens. We welcome a positive reception I received at recent meetings supports the need of building a new senior center by using a percentage of the ARPA funds to build that new senior center. Do this. The senior centers of West Haven, they deserve it. It makes West Haven citizens proud of you. If it doesn't do it now, we will never do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have a question.
I'd
Sure.
like to- yeah.
I was in there probably 25 years ago. Is no elevator there? I thought there was an elevator.
There is. In the event of fire, it can't be used.
But we're talking about people who are in their late 70s and 80s,
Oh,
trying to get out of there if there's an emergency.
All right.
It's a bad part of, it's a bad neighborhood. People don't want to drive. They try to take buses.
No, I understand,
There's
and
many reasons why we should be out of there.
yeah, I think you made a good presentation, and I mean, it is, very,
It's time.
yeah.
It's
But
time. For
I thought you said there was no elevator in there.
There is an elevator,
Yeah,
but
okay,
in an
that was-
emergency, it says no elevator, don't use the elevator.
The elevator's automatically locked down.
All right.
Anybody else have questions? Go ahead, Mike.
I was just gonna say, it sounds like a good use of money, but I think there's another opportunity for funding too, which would be the federal infrastructure money, which will be coming out with federal grants. So I think that even might be another avenue, with ARPA money to look at to do something
I
like
would
that.
say both. Use both. Set up some for to start the process by.
You got the council chairman sitting right next to you.
Oh, this is my 5th time that I'm making a habit. Everybody's gonna know. They're not gonna see me, but they're gonna hear me.
This is the nicest group that you spoke to, right?
Say that again.
This is the nicest group that you spoke to, right?
Yes. Oh, but when I spoke to the council meeting, I got a standing ovation. Everybody got the public and the politicians. They also. Then there was a meeting with the mayor, a town meeting, and again. And there were about 30 people that time in the hall questioning the mayor. I got a standing ovation for that too. And a lot of the people that spoke after me, they all requested the senior center. They want a senior center. You may question, why am I so for senior center? My associate degree is gerontology. I understand the old people. I'm old, but I understand the old people. I know their needs, the socialization that they need, to keep them active, and it's important. And the attendance, if you look at the attendance that attend the senior centers at West Haven. I did. I belong. That's why I signed up for Milford, because it's not welcoming.
With Noble Street, the rooms that have been set aside on the third floor can only accommodate a maximum of 53 people. You have known we have more than 300 or 400, 500 seniors in the city. There is no reason that this shouldn't be addressed and prioritized as number one on your agenda.
You do so much for the city, the government. They do so much for the children, the school, and I'm not taking it away from them. But for the seniors, what do you do? What did they do to maintain their activity? Because the senior citizens of today are not like the senior citizens of yesterday. Today, hey, they reach 100. Look at that. I mean, from 65 to 100, it's a lot of years. And also, the people maintain themselves healthier, active, vibrant. Look at me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else, any comments?
This is a young lady who works in Milford, taking care of the senior citizens.
Oh.
Lives here in New Haven, West Haven, excuse me.
Great.
And I think that that's also, that, we've got some great talent. And you're not looking into it. I myself have lived in West Haven for only 5 years. And I'm very disappointed in many ways. But I'm here. My children are here, my grandchildren are nearby, and it's a good place for me to stay. But we'd like to see something positive, not words, action.
Well, thank you for all being here tonight, and thank you for coming.
If I could.
Yeah, come on up, sure. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Leonor Rodriguez. I'm the Executive Director of the Milford Senior Center. And you gave me a microphone. Thank you so much. I'm here, actually, I was home. I went to our local church that was doing a pancake breakfast dinner, grabbed it very quickly to support our community, ate it, went on to YouTube, saw my friend here, who's a member of the Milford Senior Center, and ran over here as quickly as I could to back her up, as well as the rest of the older adults here in our community. It's very important for us to really look into this senior center. She's a gerontologist. I am the generation of gerontologists behind her, and behind me there'll be another one. There'll be another person who will hopefully be younger than me, who is doing the same thing, that is trying to do the right thing for our community members here in town. I'm not sure if you remember me, Mr. Bernstein, but I always pronounce your name incorrectly. You were over at the benchmark at Stanford. It was Edge Hill, yes. Loved your community. I loved the passion that you had for the seniors there. We had actually a great talk. It was a number of years ago now, so I won't make you have to recall that. But I love to see that you're here, because I think you're a great representative of a person who loves and supports older adults in the community. You have a long career, so I'm happy to see you as part of the committee. Everyone else, I hate to tell you, you're all seniors, maybe with the exception of Ms. Diaz and maybe Mr. Smith. But if we're fortunate enough, we will also get to our older age as well. Many of you have heard me before in council meetings. I'm going to be just as fierce as my friends here about the senior center. So I would like to personally invite you each. They make sure that our seniors are taken care of in Milford. And I want the same exact thing here in West Haven. I want it everywhere in Connecticut, to be honest. But I want to see it here because this is where I live. I'm a resident. And I really hope that when council is able to tell you what they're deciding ARPA's funds is for, that a portion of it, even though there are monies in other avenues we can go for, we start the process of really looking for a permanent placement or a temporary location that is on a ground level that may appease my friend for a little time until we get a permanent solution. So that's all I have to say. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you. Okay. Any other comments or questions? We're gonna end it. Thanks, guys. And ladies.